When I got my job back here, and went to McMahon the first time, I didn't know about McMahon. I heard about the bridge. My jaw had floor literally when I went there and noticed that hole, there's no remnants of that rock left. So that just kind of shows you the amount of force and how powerful those ice flows can be. But again, it did destroy the ramp here as well. Didn't completely destroy it like it did in McMahon, but enough to where it wasn't usable anymore. Another, again, I mentioned the derecho, uprooted and sheared 100-plus-year-old oak trees up on the top, hickory trees. I mean, it was like pickup sticks. From what I understand, I wasn't here. 2 pedestrian bridges that were kind of down in the valley. We're in fairly rough shape, but this kind of put the nail in the coffin on those, unfortunately. And then the 75-plus-year-old infrastructure, again, that goes back to the 60s and the stuff that was built in the 30s. It started to deteriorate and is in dire need of replacement. So back shortly after I got hired, kind of one of the things the board wanted me to do is kind of go around and look at our assets and determine, what we think needs addressed. Well, I kind of felt biased because I'd say Squirrel Hollow is probably my favorite part of the county. Don't tell me the parks, but I really love Squirrel Hollow. Really neat place. So that was one of the first stops I made, and I'm glad I did. And again, not to any fault of anybody. I think priorities were, we had a bike trail going on that was being, developed. Spring Lake Park over the years has been developed. That's our big kind of our flagship. That's our moneymaker. So a lot of resources went into those parks, and not a ton out here. So again, in 2021, approached the Conservation Board and let them know that Squirrel Hollow, one of those parks, is in the most need of attention at that point. So on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, a little over a year ago, we held a public meeting at Squirrel Hollow, and some of you were there, to gather comments about improvements that need to be made in the park. We had almost 50 people show up, which thank you folks that are here today. I mean, we get a lot of folks turn out for these types of things, and I appreciate that. It's awesome that there's people that are interested and take ownership in these things that we have here in Greene County. So at that point, after that meeting, it was determined by the Conservation Board that we would pursue a master facilities plan for the park and get to work planning and fundraising for improvements in the future. So this was kind of the concept that I developed. Just kind of talks about things that need to be upgraded, some of the things that need to be moved, possibly potentially be moved around, adding a little camping. The biggest thing, and again, I want to stress to most people, or everybody, and then our board want folks to know is we're not looking to develop Squirrel Hollow. We're basically looking to upgrade the facilities that are there. There are some things that we'd like to add just to make it, more accessible and easier for folks that do camp there. We do want to add a dump station. A campground host site, we've already got one there, but I had full hookups to that, kind of piggyback into the septic with that. Those types of things, again, there's nothing out there. The electrical out there, if you own a camper, prior to 1990, there's no 30 amp hookups unless you're in the horse camp area, unfortunately. So it's just not a lot of opportunity there right now. But again, we're working on it. Not that we haven't, been able to do some of this stuff for helps, but it always helps to have friends. So in the summer of 2022, the Kenora Conservation Chapter of the Isaac Walton League received an endowment grant from the Isaac Walton League, the national chapter, to support the Raccoon River Watershed Association and its Concerned Citizens Save Squirrel Hollow initiative to begin water monitoring and material spore water monitoring in and up and down the watershed on the North Raccoon River. I believe we have over 40 sites now that we're testing. I'm involved in that as well. Chris hasn't been involved in it for many years. I don't have any t-shirts here, but I'm sure we can get some if you guys want to say Squirrel Hollow t-shirt. Great initiative, and these folks have been doing great work for many years, and we, hopefully our younger generation can kind of take what they've done and run with it. Shortly after our public meeting last year, we started a friends group Friends of Greene County Parks did. The folks that you see in the picture, some of you are out there today. Thank you very much for doing this. The Fort Friends group was raised to kind of support and supplement what we do as a conservation board. As a conservation board, a government entity, taxpayers probably don't want us to go out there and solicit money on their time. I understand that, but friends groups were developed, nonprofits like this were developed to kind of do that, to help supplement The funding, that we may not always have, or we may be short on. So right now we're working on a couple fundraising ideas. We just had a meeting on Wednesday. We got a really neat idea that hopefully we're going to be able to do here this next spring and kind of continue to do that at Squirrel Hollow to start raising money for this park and start getting some of these things done that need to be done. So.
Is that a Facebook group?
Yes, they do have a Facebook group. Yep, it should be. It's Friends of Greene County, Iowa Parks too. We have to put that in there because there's other Greene counties out there. So in 2023, the Conservation Board received a Greene County Conservation Community Foundation grant to replace the pedestrian bridge between the campground and the shelter house. That, again, when I came here, I was a little worried crossing that bridge the first time, and every other time after that until it was fixed, but it was in really rough shape, and we kind of identified that as being a very important piece of the park because it connects the campground with the shelter area, the bathrooms with the shelter house. So that was one thing that we identified we really needed to replace. So again, we wrote a grant, used a little bit of funding that we had as part of our budget, and we were able to put in this really nice, neat 75-foot walk bridge that I see a lot of pictures out there with people doing senior pictures and things like that. Really neat, had a lot of help from, as we always do, Greene County Engineer Wade and Secondary Road Department helped us out quite a bit on this. And then a company out of Wisconsin actually installed the bridge. We have a similar bridge up in Peyton and Wildlife area up there as well. And we plan on, there's a few other locations we plan on doing here as well too. So I kind of marked this improvement as the first of many kind of a new phase of development that Squirrel Hollow is going to be going towards. Again, we're working with an engineering firm, Boltman Inc. right now. They hired a gal, Emily Baylor is her name, a couple of years ago, to specifically work with county conservation boards and do planning. There's never really, everybody's always kind of, written things on the back of the napkin, and here you go, let's do it this way. Well, that's good and fine if you have the money, but if you don't have the money and you don't have a plan, they're not just going to give you the money. So we're kind of, like I said, in the process of doing the master facilities plan for the park. We hope to have that done by late fall, so we can hit this next round of local grants that are coming out, and there's some big federal grants too that I kind of have in the back of my head that we need to apply for these as well. So again, that's the completed bridge with the Thank You to the Community Foundation. That's kind of right, this top right picture is right after we kind of demoed the old bridge and did a little dirt work, and then that's them installing the bridge after all the dirt work and riprap and stuff was installed below. So really neat project. So yeah, so next, what's the future hold? This is kind of some little bits and pieces of parts that will be in our plan. We did get a grant through Greene for $76,000. It was a 2-year legacy grant to replace all of our signage in the park. That was one of the other things I identified when I started as we need to replace these old brown wooden mounted signs. They're great. They look good for about a year, and then they start to degrade, and then they're not reflective, they're not really consistent with the area, so now we've developed a signage plan, which I'm sure some of you have seen around the county. We've got them on most of the paved roads. We still have a few more to put up on the paved roads. The monument and sign at Squirrel Hollow at Spring Lake is new, and then again we have design for Squirrel Hollow. This, and as well as kind of reconstructing those portals that I showed you earlier with the little 3x3 stone structures. So yeah, like I said, we don't know what the future holds, but we're excited for it. So.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was your experience after the derecho?
My experience. So I was in Boone County at the time. Of course, we all know COVID was going on at the same time, so it was hard to get your staff in one room and be able to work without, masking up and socially distancing and doing the things you're supposed to. But when the derecho happened, we didn't have a choice. It was, we had,
a lot of trees there.
So in Boone County, we had 5 full-time staff. We had one staff member that lived down at Sweet Point by Maverick. They got hit the worst. I mean, when I pulled into Sweet Point Park, you couldn't even recognize the park. There were 5 cottonwood trees on his house. There were 3 other trees on his shop. We managed the High Trestle Trail. You guys have probably seen the High Trestle Trail with the pretty blue lights. We managed that at the time. We had those pickup sticks from Woodward to Slater, nonstop, all the way down the trail. So it was about 3 months nonstop out on the trail doing tree work. And then when I got over here, the December after I started, we had a tornado outbreak on December, I think it was December 15th, 2021. We lost 36 big 100-year-old cottonwoods at Spring Lake. So I left there and then came here and that happened. So.
That kind of made a lot of your duties.
Yes.
Great.
And you're right. And I'm glad you understand that too. Because, you know, a lot of people are like, why is he just getting up now? Well, when a storm comes, it's all hands on deck. We drop everything, we go out and cut trees until the job's done. You know, whether that's at 10 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock the next morning. We want to make sure it's safe and open for folks to get through. So, yeah, when those things happen, it's job security, but it's no fun. So, but yeah, so the ratio, once we got things kind of cleaned up on the bike trail, we kind of moved to our other parks and started kind of cleaning up the maintained areas. And I mean, you'll still see remnants of this ratio for 50 years in our timbers. I mean, you out there right now, Squirrel Hollow on the north side of the park, kind of where some of those old trails were, and still looks like those sticks down there. Which makes it great for mushroom hunting and some of the other things you can forage out there. Not great for hiking, so yeah, again, that's my presentation. Big thank you to the Greene County Historical Society, of course, for letting me come today and all the resources they have online. Jefferson D. and Harold, all their archives online. I spent many hours researching, and it's fun. Like I said, I'm kind of a history nut as it goes anyway. And it's really neat, I mean, you know, to have all this information. I've got it all in my office, but it's not organized. And you kind of got to take your bits and pieces and put them in chronological order and make sure things match up. So it does take a little bit of work, but, and again, you know, this is a living document. I'm sure I'll do this again for folks, you know, down the road here. So again, if any of you guys have any stories, tales that you want to email me, call me, talk to me about, I would love it. I would love to include that, you know, as I do this again down the road. So, and that goes for any of the parks, Spring Lake, Hyde Park, any of them. So. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
First, it was 147 acres is what it exists for right now.
There's about 207 acres. So this is the original 60 and then 147.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I grew up in the Bridgewoods.
Oh, you did Hamilton down there. Okay, yep.
And so I've seen that develop from the day when it was just a rough place where we kids went to park.
Sure.
And hunted clams in the river.
Yep.
The lake kind of probably brought in a lot of that and really helped the financial.
Yep.
And with that,
the golf course. Yep.
So it's made that whole thing into quite a complex. Now,
sure.
What do they kind of see for the future of this? You've got a horse riding thing. Those are very hard to keep up, I should say.
Yep.
Because horses are the most abusive thing to a trail, or is.
They can be, yes.
And so is there, you charge for the horses, or was it just the camping for the horse?
The way it was then, it was just the camping. The kind of the kicker to that, the caveat to that is a lot of the backcountry people in the saddle clubs that were local, they did all the maintenance on the trails, which is good and bad. It's good in that we don't have to use a lot of our resources in the county to maintain it. But once those horse clubs start going away and people move on, then you kind of lose your workforce.
So you can go up to Brushy Creek, right? The horses are a big deal.
Yes, they are.
We don't have the fishing like that at Brushy Creek or at Shepherd. But what kind of revenue do they think they're going to get from camping? Is going into that, and how much does it use? How much does it use each year?
So right now, as far as revenue goes, like I said, we're not really looking to develop any really much further than what's already there. It's more the conservation board identified as a park they'd like to kind of even Sportsman's Park in Dallas County, something like that. We have Spring Lake Park. We've got all the amenities out there. Squirrel Hollow, we kind of want to keep that as kind of a smaller, lower profile, again, not as developed, but we still want people to come there too. We think they will once the facilities are there. Right now, I would say it varies. Like this year, the last 2 years in Squirrel Hollow, we probably made more money in the last 2 years than they probably did in the prior 5 for that, for whatever reason.
Is it an honor system to camp there?
Yeah, right now we don't have a campground host, and
for the electricity or And the well is,
Yep, we just charge a flat rate for those sites. Yep, so for those sites, so anything electric is $15 at those sites, and then $10 for any primitive camping at those sites as well.
as far as it goes for, I used to do a lot of traveling and camping.
Sure.
So how are people going to find this place? Say they're going down Highway 30 or 141 to bring in their trailers or the camp, and how do you promote this so people can find it? Is
So-
it like would all something like that, or is that not the extent of it?
Well, and that's where, again, we've really had, and it all comes down to staff and timing too, as far as marketing and outreach and things like that. That's always been kind of a struggle of ours, is to get the word out, what's going on. We did just hire a new naturalist and outreach coordinator. Again, what we plan on doing is once this park is developed, yeah, we're gonna put it out there that people can come here now. You can bring a modern camper in here and camp. You can bring a modern camper in here and dump and take a shower. We've never had that, so it kind of goes back to the bike trail too. When it was first built, they marketed the heck out of it. Well, the condition kind of started to deteriorate.